In the silence between heartbeats, when the modern world grows quiet and the ancient past whispers through starlight, we find ourselves drawn to a mystery that spans 5,000 years. Deep in the fertile valleys of Mesopotamia, where the Tigris and Euphrates rivers carved civilization from clay and dreams, the Sumerians looked up at the same stars we see tonight and recorded secrets that continue to baffle scholars to this day. Their cuneiform tablets, pressed into wet clay with reed styluses by hands that turned to dust millennia ago, contain astronomical observations of startling precision. These weren't primitive sky watchers fumbling in the dark of ignorance. The Sumerians possessed mathematical knowledge, star charts, and planetary calculations that wouldn't be matched by Western civilization until the Renaissance. But how did a Bronze Age culture achieve such sophisticated understanding of celestial mechanics? Picture the ziggurat of Ur rising from the Mesopotamian plain like a mountain built by gods, its stepped sides climbing toward the star-scattered vault of night. At its summit, Sumerian priest-astronomers spent countless hours tracking the movements of planets they called wandering stars, plotting their courses with an accuracy that seems impossible for their time. They knew the length of a year to within minutes of modern calculations. They predicted eclipses with uncanny precision. They mapped the positions of stars with mathematical relationships that reveal deep understanding of cosmic patterns. The mystery deepens when we examine their creation myths, particularly the Enuma Elish, carved into stone tablets that have survived the rise and fall of empires. These aren't simple stories of gods and monsters, but detailed accounts of cosmic formation that contain elements remarkably similar to modern theories about planetary formation, stellar nucleosynthesis, and even the structure of our solar system. How could ancient scribes, working by lamplight in temple chambers, describe astronomical processes that modern science has only recently confirmed? Most intriguing of all are their records of Nibiru, a mysterious celestial body they claimed followed a vast elliptical orbit through our solar system. Sumerian texts describe this object as the home of the Anunnaki, beings who descended from the heavens to establish civilization on Earth. Mainstream archaeology dismisses these accounts as mythology, but the mathematical precision of Sumerian astronomical records makes casual dismissal increasingly difficult to justify. Consider the Sumerian knowledge of precession, the slow wobble of Earth's axis that causes the position of stars to shift gradually over periods of thousands of years. This phenomenon wasn't officially discovered by Western astronomy until Hipparchus observed it in the 2nd century BCE. Yet Sumerian texts describe the precession cycle with remarkable accuracy, dividing it into 12 ages of approximately 2,160 years each. They spoke of the Great Year, a cosmic cycle lasting 25,920 years, and wove this knowledge into their calendar systems and religious practices. Their mathematical system was based on the number 60, creating the sexagesimal system we still use today for measuring time and angles. 60 seconds in a minute, 60 minutes in an hour, 360 degrees in a circle. These aren't arbitrary choices, but reflections of sophisticated mathematical relationships the Sumerians discovered in their observations of celestial cycles. The precision of their calculations suggests access to observational data spanning far longer periods than their known civilization could have accumulated. The Sumerian star catalogs contain references to celestial objects that shouldn't have been visible to the naked eye. They describe the moons of Jupiter thousands of years before Galileo's telescope revealed them to European astronomy. They knew details about Saturn's rings, Uranus and Neptune, and possessed maps of stellar positions that modern astronomy has confirmed as extraordinarily accurate for their supposed time period. The question haunts every examination of their records. How did they see what they couldn't see? Their creation myths speak of a time when the solar system was different, when additional planets existed in orbits that have since been disrupted. The Epic of Tiamat describes a cosmic collision that shattered a world between Mars and Jupiter, leaving behind the asteroid belt and redirecting the orbits of other planets. Modern planetary science has developed theories of late heavy bombardment and planetary migration that echo these ancient accounts with unsettling similarity. The Sumerian pantheon of gods corresponds precisely to the planets of our solar system, with each deity assigned characteristics that match the astronomical properties of their associated celestial body. Marduk, linked to Jupiter, is described as a wandering god whose gravity influences other heavenly bodies. Nergal, associated with Mars, is portrayed as a god of war and destruction, reflecting the planet's red, threatening appearance. These aren't coincidences, but evidence of systematic astronomical observation encoded in religious narrative. Their temple architecture reveals another layer of astronomical sophistication. The orientations of ziggurats align with stellar rising points, seasonal solstices, and planetary conjunctions with precision that rivals modern observatories. The Great Ziggurat of Babylon incorporated mathematical ratios that mirror the orbital relationships between planets, suggesting the Sumerians understood not just where celestial objects appeared in the sky, but the underlying mathematical laws governing their movements. As we delve deeper into these ancient records, scanning cuneiform tablets under museum lighting, while outside the same constellations wheel overhead in their eternal dance, we begin to sense we're approaching something that challenges fundamental assumptions about the development of human knowledge. The challenge to our understanding grows more profound when we examine the Sumerian king lists, stone tablets that record the reigns of rulers stretching back to a time when kingship descended from heaven. These aren't symbolic genealogies, but precise chronological records that place early Sumerian rulers in time periods extending tens of thousands of years into the past. Modern archaeology struggles to reconcile these dates with accepted timelines of human civilization. Yet the mathematical consistency of Sumerian astronomical records makes their chronological claims difficult to dismiss outright. Consider the precision of their Venus observations. The planet Venus follows a complex cycle, returning to the same position relative to Earth every 8 years, but with subtle variations that create longer patterns spanning centuries. Sumerian tablets record these Venus cycles with an accuracy that implies continuous observation over periods far exceeding the known duration of their civilization. The mathematical sophistication required to predict Venus's behavior suggests not just patient skywatching, but deep understanding of orbital mechanics that wouldn't officially enter human knowledge until the work of Kepler and Newton. Their astronomical texts speak of the watchers of heaven, divine beings assigned to monitor different regions of the night sky. These weren't metaphorical guardians, but precise astronomical stations, with specific gods responsible for the northern, central, and southern paths of celestial observation. Each path was divided into 12 sections, creating a coordinate system for stellar positions that parallels modern astronomical conventions. The Sumerian star map, carved into the ceiling of the tomb of Senenmut in Egypt, shows stellar positions accurate to within fractions of a degree. Even more mysterious are their references to stellar distances and the relative brightness of stars. Sumerian texts describe some stars as being farther away than others, knowledge that shouldn't have been accessible to naked eye observation. They spoke of star families that modern astronomy recognizes as stellar clusters, and described variable stars that change brightness over cycles lasting months or years. How could Bronze Age observers track stellar variability across time periods requiring multi-generational data collection? The Sumerian measurement of the Earth's circumference appears in their mathematical texts as a value remarkably close to modern calculations. They describe the Earth as a sphere suspended in space, surrounded by the celestial sphere of stars. This knowledge contradicts the assumption that ancient peoples believed in a flat Earth, suggesting instead that sophisticated understanding of planetary geometry existed in the earliest periods of recorded history. Their calculations of distances to the moon and sun, while not perfectly accurate by modern standards, show understanding of triangulation and geometric principles that weren't supposed to exist in their time. Their chemical knowledge reveals another puzzling dimension of Sumerian sophistication. Cuneiform tablets describe metallurgical processes for creating alloys that required precise temperature control and chemical understanding. They wrote about the transmutation of metals, describing processes that modern chemistry recognizes as valid techniques for creating materials with specific properties. Their knowledge of medicine included surgical procedures and pharmacological preparations that demonstrate understanding of human anatomy and biochemistry that seems impossibly advanced for their era. The mystery deepens when we examine Sumerian descriptions of their gods' technology. The Anunnaki are portrayed as beings who traveled between heaven and earth in skyboats that breathed fire and made the earth tremble. They possessed weapons that could level mountains and cities, tools that could cut stone with precision that modern archaeology struggles to explain, and knowledge of genetics that allowed them to create new forms of life. While these accounts are dismissed as mythology, the technical details embedded in the stories suggest familiarity with advanced technologies. Sumerian texts describe the Anunnaki as mining gold for reasons that modern science has recently begun to understand. Gold's unique properties make it essential for advanced electronics, space technology, and atmospheric engineering. The Sumerians wrote about gold being taken to the heavens to heal the wounded sky, a phrase that resonates with modern theories about using gold particles to repair atmospheric damage or protect against cosmic radiation. The precision of their mining operations, described in texts like the Atrahasis epic, shows understanding of geology and engineering that seems anachronistic for the Bronze Age. Their mathematical achievements extend beyond astronomy into pure mathematics. They understood the concept of zero, used placeholder notation, and worked with mathematical relationships that wouldn't be rediscovered in the West until medieval times. Their tablets contain calculations of square roots, cube roots, and exponential functions that demonstrate sophistication rivaling classical Greek mathematics. The famous Plimpton 322 tablet contains Pythagorean triples that predate Pythagoras by over 1,000 years. Most intriguing are their records of genetic manipulation. Sumerian creation myths describe the fashioning of humans through a process involving a mixing of divine essence with earthly clay. Modern translations reveal technical details about combining genetic material from different sources to create beings suited for specific purposes. These accounts, while couched in religious language, contain biological insights about heredity, selective breeding, and genetic engineering that parallel contemporary biotechnology. The Sumerian pantheon includes detailed genealogies showing relationships between gods that mirror modern understanding of stellar evolution and planetary formation. Older gods give birth to younger ones in sequences that parallel the formation of solar systems, where earlier stellar generations create the heavy elements necessary for later planetary development. A cosmic family tree preserved in Sumerian mythology encodes astronomical knowledge about nucleosynthesis and planetary migration that wasn't officially discovered until the 20th century. Their medical texts describe surgical procedures using tools and techniques that required metallurgical knowledge for creating precision instruments. They wrote about organ transplantation, genetic disorders, and pharmacological treatments that demonstrate understanding of human physiology that seems impossibly advanced. The Edwin Smith Papyrus, while Egyptian, reflects medical knowledge that ultimately traces back to Sumerian sources, showing surgical techniques that wouldn't be matched again until the modern era. As we trace these threads of impossible knowledge through the labyrinth of cuneiform tablets, we begin to realize we're confronting evidence that challenges the linear narrative of human technological development. The Sumerians appear to have possessed knowledge that came from somewhere beyond the normal progression of cultural learning, knowledge that seems to have arrived fully formed rather than developing gradually through trial and error. The implications stretch beyond archaeology into questions about the very nature of human civilization and its origins. If the Sumerians truly possessed such advanced knowledge, where did it come from? And why did subsequent cultures seem to lose so much of what they understood? The astronomical observations recorded in Sumerian tablets include references to celestial events that shouldn't have been visible from Earth during their historical period. They described stellar configurations and planetary alignments that modern computer simulations place thousands of years before the supposed rise of Sumerian civilization. These observations could only have been made by tracking celestial movements across far longer time spans than mainstream archaeology allows for the existence of sophisticated human culture. Consider their knowledge of the solar system's structure. Sumerian texts describe our solar system as containing 12 members: the Sun, Moon, Earth, and 9 other planetary bodies. Modern astronomy recognizes 8 planets, plus various dwarf planets and large asteroids. But the Sumerian count suggests they knew of celestial objects that have either been destroyed, ejected from the solar system, or remain undiscovered by contemporary science. Their description of Nibiru as the 12th member, following a highly elliptical orbit that brings it near Earth every 3,600 years, has led some researchers to search for a massive planet in the outer solar system. Recent discoveries in astronomy have lent unexpected credibility to some Sumerian claims. The detection of Planet 9, a hypothetical massive planet in the outer solar system, matches many characteristics attributed to Nibiru in ancient texts. The mathematical evidence for this planet's existence comes from gravitational perturbations observed in the orbits of Kuiper belt objects, exactly the kind of subtle celestial mechanics that the Sumerians seem to understand. Whether this correlation represents ancient knowledge or remarkable coincidence remains one of the most intriguing questions in alternative archaeology. Their descriptions of genetic engineering contain technical details that align uncomfortably well with modern biotechnology. Sumerian creation accounts describe the Anunnaki taking genetic essence from themselves and combining it with that of primitive hominids to create workers suited for specific tasks. These narratives include references to laboratory-like environments, gestation processes involving divine wombs, and multiple attempts to create beings with desired characteristics. The technical precision of these accounts suggests familiarity with genetic concepts that weren't officially discovered until the 20th century. The mystery extends to their architectural achievements, which required engineering knowledge that shouldn't have existed. In the Bronze Age, the foundation stones of Sumerian temples show evidence of precision cutting, earthquake-resistant construction techniques, and acoustic engineering that demonstrates sophisticated understanding of physics and materials science. The ziggurat complexes incorporated drainage systems, ventilation networks, and structural elements that required mathematical calculations about stress, load-bearing capacity, and seismic stability. Sumerian metallurgy included techniques for creating materials with properties that modern science struggles to replicate. They produced steel-hard cutting tools without iron, created alloys with specific characteristics for different applications, and worked with materials that required temperature control and atmospheric conditions, suggesting advanced furnace technology. Their metalworking achievements include jewelry and ornaments made from materials that required precision smithing and chemical knowledge that seems anachronistic for their supposed technological level. Their understanding of chemistry extended beyond metallurgy into pharmacology, perfume making, and industrial processes. Cuneiform tablets contain recipes for creating specific chemical compounds, instructions for distillation and purification processes, and formulas for materials that required understanding of molecular behavior. They described chemical reactions using terminology that parallels modern chemical notation, suggesting systematic study of material properties and chemical interactions. The Sumerian written language itself presents puzzles about the speed of its development. Cuneiform writing appears in the archaeological record as a fully developed system with complex grammar, mathematical notation, and sophisticated literary conventions. Most writing systems develop gradually over centuries, but Sumerian script seems to have emerged complete with all the elements necessary for recording complex technical and astronomical information. This suggests either an extremely rapid period of development or the adaptation of a writing system that already existed elsewhere. Their legal codes and governmental systems demonstrate understanding of social organization that required knowledge of human psychology, economic principles, and administrative techniques sophisticated enough to manage complex urban societies. The Code of Hammurabi, while Babylonian, reflects legal traditions that originated in Sumerian culture, showing systematic approaches to justice, commerce, and social regulation that seem impossibly advanced for early Bronze Age civilizations. Most mysteriously, Sumerian texts contain prophetic elements that seem to describe future technological developments with uncanny accuracy. They wrote about flying vehicles, communication across vast distances, weapons of mass destruction, and environmental changes that match contemporary concerns about technology and ecological damage. These prophetic passages are often embedded in religious contexts, but contain technical details that suggest genuine foreknowledge rather than mythological speculation. The continuity of Sumerian knowledge through subsequent cultures presents another puzzle. Egyptian, Babylonian, Assyrian, and Greek civilizations all show evidence of inheriting Sumerian astronomical, mathematical, and technical knowledge, but none achieved the same level of sophistication in combining these disciplines. It's as if later cultures preserved fragments of a more complete understanding that they couldn't fully reconstruct or comprehend. Archaeological evidence from Sumerian sites reveals anomalies that challenge conventional dating methods and technological assumptions. Artifacts showing evidence of machine tooling, precision measurement, and manufacturing techniques that required industrial-level capabilities have been discovered in layers supposedly predating the development of such technologies. The famous Baghdad battery, while from a later period, reflects electrical knowledge that traces back to Sumerian sources. As we piece together these fragments of impossible knowledge, examining artifacts under laboratory lights, while outside the descendants of Sumerian stars continue their ancient patterns, we begin to sense that we're uncovering evidence of a lost chapter in human history, a time when knowledge and capability existed on Earth that transcended the technological limitations we associate with ancient civilizations. The deeper we excavate through layers of assumption and conventional chronology, the more we discover that the Sumerians may have been the inheritors of an even older tradition of knowledge, custodians of wisdom that stretches back to times so remote that they exist beyond the reach of conventional archaeological dating. Their astronomical texts reference previous world ages, describing cycles of civilization that rise and fall according to cosmic patterns spanning tens of thousands of years. These aren't vague mythological references, but precise chronological systems that divide Earth's history into distinct periods, each characterized by different levels of technological achievement and spiritual development. The Sumerian understanding of these vast cycles suggests they viewed themselves not as the beginning of civilization, but as participants in a recurring pattern of human advancement and decline. Consider the precision of their predictions about celestial events occurring thousands of years in their future. Sumerian tablets contain calculations predicting eclipses, planetary conjunctions, and stellar alignments that wouldn't occur until long after their civilization had vanished. The mathematical sophistication required for such long-term astronomical predictions indicates access to observational data spanning periods far exceeding any known historical records. Either they possessed accumulated observations from unknown previous civilizations, or they had access to knowledge sources that transcended normal empirical methods. Their temple rituals incorporated acoustic phenomena that demonstrate understanding of sound, engineering, and psychoacoustic principles that modern science has only recently begun to explore. The chambers within ziggurats were designed to create specific resonance frequencies that affected human consciousness, induced altered states of awareness, and facilitated what they described as communication with the Anunnaki. Modern research into infrasound and resonance effects on the human brain confirms that the Sumerians understood relationships between acoustic environments and consciousness that scientists are still investigating. The mystery of Sumerian origins becomes even more complex when we examine their own accounts of receiving knowledge from divine teachers. Unlike other ancient cultures that developed gradually from hunter-gatherer societies, the Sumerians appear in history as a fully formed civilization with sophisticated knowledge systems already in place. Their own texts describe this knowledge as having been given to them by the Anunnaki, beings who descended from heaven to establish order on earth. Whether these accounts represent historical memory, symbolic narrative, or something else entirely remains one of archaeology's most perplexing questions. Their mathematical knowledge included understanding of relationships between cosmic cycles and consciousness that modern science is beginning to rediscover through research into circadian rhythms, seasonal affective patterns, and the influence of celestial mechanics on biological systems. Sumerian texts describe how different planetary positions affect human behavior, health, and spiritual development, knowledge that formed the foundation for what later became astrology, but originally represented sophisticated understanding of cosmic influences on terrestrial life. The technological descriptions embedded in Sumerian religious texts contain details about energy systems that parallel modern discoveries in quantum mechanics and zero-point energy. They wrote about the Anunnaki using devices that could manipulate matter at the atomic level, harness energy from empty space, and create materials with programmable properties. While these accounts are couched in mythological language, the technical specificity of the descriptions suggests familiarity with physical principles that mainstream science is only beginning to explore. Their medical knowledge included understanding of genetics, neurology, and biochemistry that wouldn't be officially discovered until the modern era. Sumerian tablets describe the structure of DNA as a twisted ladder, detail the function of various neurotransmitters in affecting behavior and consciousness, and contain pharmacological formulas that demonstrate understanding of how specific compounds interact with human physiology. The precision of this knowledge suggests either extremely advanced empirical investigation or access to information sources beyond normal observational methods. Archaeological discoveries continue to reveal artifacts that challenge conventional timelines and technological assumptions. In Sumerian sites, researchers have found evidence of electricity usage, precision machining, and manufacturing techniques that required industrial capabilities supposedly unknown in the Bronze Age. The famous crystal skulls, while controversial, show evidence of cutting and polishing techniques that modern technology struggles to replicate, yet they appear in archaeological contexts associated with Sumerian trade networks. Their understanding of consciousness and its relationship to physical reality included concepts that modern quantum physics has begun to validate. Through research into observer effects and consciousness-mediated quantum phenomena, Sumerian texts describe reality as a collaborative creation between divine consciousness and human awareness, with specific rituals and mental practices capable of influencing material conditions. This knowledge formed the basis for what later became ceremonial magic, but originally represented practical understanding of consciousness-matter interactions. The continuity of Sumerian knowledge through secret traditions and esoteric schools suggests that much of their understanding survived the collapse of their visible civilization. Mystery schools throughout the Mediterranean world preserved fragments of Sumerian wisdom, encoding it in symbolic systems, architectural proportions, and ritual practices that maintained the essential knowledge while hiding it from casual observation. The mathematical relationships embedded in Gothic cathedrals, the astronomical alignments of megalithic structures, and the symbolic systems of various mystical traditions all show evidence of Sumerian influences. Modern efforts to decode the full extent of Sumerian knowledge face the challenge that their information storage systems operated on multiple levels simultaneously. Cuneiform texts contain literal meanings, numerical codes, astronomical data, and consciousness-altering sound patterns, all embedded in the same passages. Understanding the complete message requires not just linguistic translation, but recognition of the multi-dimensional encoding systems they use to preserve knowledge across time periods when direct transmission might not be possible. The implications of Sumerian knowledge extend beyond historical curiosity into questions about the nature of human potential and the trajectory of technological development. If they truly possessed advanced understanding of consciousness, technology, and cosmic relationships, then modern civilization may be in the process of rediscovering rather than discovering these principles for the first time. The convergence of contemporary science with ancient wisdom suggests we may be approaching a threshold where the artificial separation between spiritual knowledge and scientific understanding begins to dissolve, revealing a more complete picture of reality that the Sumerians may have possessed from the very beginning of recorded history. As we stand at the threshold of breakthrough discoveries in consciousness research, quantum physics, and space exploration, we find ourselves reconnecting with insights that echo through cuneiform tablets written 5,000 years ago. Recent developments in theoretical physics have begun to validate Sumerian concepts about the fundamental nature of reality. Their descriptions of matter as condensed energy, consciousness as a causal force in physical manifestation, and time as a cyclical rather than linear phenomenon align remarkably with cutting-edge research in quantum field theory, consciousness studies, and cosmological models of cyclical universes. The mathematical relationships they encoded in their astronomical calculations continue to reveal new layers of meaning as our understanding of cosmic mechanics becomes more sophisticated. Space exploration has provided unexpected confirmation of some Sumerian astronomical claims. The discovery of water on Mars, evidence of past Martian civilization supporting conditions, and the detection of complex organic molecules in space mesh. Sumerian descriptions of celestial bodies as potentially inhabited worlds connected through cosmic relationships. Their maps of the solar system, while encoded in mythological narratives, show understanding of planetary characteristics that space missions have confirmed with remarkable accuracy. The search for Planet 9 in our outer solar system continues to follow trajectories that align with Sumerian descriptions of Nibiru's orbital characteristics. Whether this represents ancient knowledge of an unknown planet or remarkable coincidence, the mathematical evidence for a massive undiscovered planet continues to accumulate. Advanced computer simulations modeling the gravitational effects necessary to explain observed planetary perturbations suggest an object matching many features attributed to the Anunnaki homeworld in ancient texts. Modern genetics research has validated principles of heredity and genetic manipulation that appear in Sumerian creation accounts. The technical precision of their descriptions about combining genetic material from different sources, creating organisms with desired characteristics, and understanding inheritance patterns suggests familiarity with biological principles that official science developed only recently. Current advances in genetic engineering, synthetic biology, and consciousness research are rediscovering technologies that may have existed in more advanced forms during prehistoric periods. Archaeological investigations using advanced scanning technologies continue to reveal hidden chambers, underground facilities, and structural complexities in Sumerian sites that challenge assumptions about Bronze Age capabilities. Ground-penetrating radar, satellite imaging, and other modern detection methods are uncovering evidence of sophisticated engineering projects that required advanced planning, precision construction techniques, and technological capabilities that seem anachronistic for their supposed time period. The study of consciousness and its relationship to physical reality has begun to validate Sumerian understanding of mind-matter interactions that formed the basis of their technological and spiritual practices. Research into meditation, psychedelic experiences, and altered states of consciousness has revealed measurable effects on physical systems that align with ancient descriptions of consciousness-directed technology. The intersection of neuroscience, quantum physics, and consciousness studies is rediscovering principles that may have been common knowledge in prehistoric civilizations. Contemporary environmental challenges mirror Sumerian prophecies about technological civilizations disrupting natural cycles and requiring cosmic intervention to restore balance. Their texts describe previous world ages ending through environmental destruction, technological warfare, and the breakdown of relationships between earthly and cosmic intelligence. These accounts, while mythologically framed, contain warnings about the consequences of technological development that proceeds without spiritual wisdom. The mathematical constants embedded in Sumerian astronomical calculations continue to reveal new significance as our understanding of cosmic relationships becomes more sophisticated. The same numerical relationships that govern their calendar systems architectural proportions, and religious practices appear in quantum mechanical equations, cosmological constants, and the mathematical structures underlying physical reality. This suggests that Sumerian knowledge may have been based on direct perception of the mathematical principles that govern universal manifestation. Modern communication technologies are beginning to replicate capabilities that Sumerian texts attribute to advanced consciousness practices. Their descriptions of instantaneous communication across vast distances, remote viewing of distant locations, and telepathic contact with non-human intelligence parallel developments in quantum communication, satellite networks, and theoretical research into consciousness-mediated information transfer. The convergence suggests that technology and consciousness may ultimately represent different approaches to the same fundamental principles. The preservation of Sumerian knowledge through esoteric traditions, mystery schools, and encoded symbolic systems has maintained continuity between ancient wisdom and contemporary rediscovery. Secret societies, mystical orders, and indigenous traditions worldwide show evidence of preserving fragments of advanced knowledge that traces back to Sumerian sources. The resurgence of interest in ancient wisdom traditions represents not just historical curiosity, but practical recognition that modern civilization may need this knowledge to navigate current challenges. As we conclude this exploration of Sumerian mysteries, examining the final tablet translations while outside the same constellations that guided their astronomical observations continue their eternal dance, we realize that the question of what the ancient Sumerians knew about the stars opens into larger questions about the nature of knowledge itself. Perhaps they understood something that modern civilization is only beginning to rediscover, that consciousness and cosmos are intimately connected, that knowledge is not merely accumulated information, but direct participation in the intelligence that manifests as reality. The mystery of Sumerian knowledge reminds us that human potential may extend far beyond current assumptions about the limitations of consciousness and technology. In their cuneiform tablets, star maps, and technological achievements, we glimpse possibilities for human development that transcend the boundaries between science and spirituality, between earthly existence and cosmic awareness. Their legacy invites us to consider that the stars hold not just light and gravitational influence, but information and intelligence that conscious beings can access through proper understanding of the relationships connecting all levels of existence. In rediscovering what the Sumerians knew, we may be rediscovering what humans are capable of becoming. Before you drift into sleep, remember mystery is never truly lost, only waiting to be found. If you enjoyed this journey, subscribe for more relaxing ancient mysteries, and let your curiosity guide you deeper.